On this channel, we of course talk about luxury, and in the nature of that niche, you'll know that I often do wish list videos, hauls, and reviews of the items that I love. That being said, what is very uncommon to find on luxury creator channels is the items that have got away, if you will. And that's what I wanted to do, therefore, for today's video. Just a little bit of fun, walk a bit down memory lane, humble myself, because you know what? You can't always get what you want in life, and talk about the items that sometimes still cross my mind. I have 10 bags on this list, and I'm just focusing on bags because honestly, we'd be here all day. They're not necessarily in a particular order, though I've tried where best, where memory serves, to put them in as chronological as possible, so you can see how my style has changed, my thought process changed. And I've got the list on my phone because some of them I really had to dig deep into my brain. If we're going in chronological order, this is the first bag that I recall that I wanted so hard. Was actually a bag brand that I don't think I've talked about, and this is Vivian Westwood, a very well-loved British designer, rest in peace. When I was still, I think, either a teenager or at university, I really liked this brand. It was at one of the heydays of the brand as well. I cannot find the official name nor a picture of, at least from my preliminary research, but if I find it during my editing, I will put it on screen. I saw some influencers, I think, wearing this bag, and it was on like an autumn winter preview or something, and it was a beautiful orb backpack. It was a square boxy shape with smooth patent leather, I think, from memory, and the flap was almost like an envelope, and it had the orb there. It was very minimal and very sleek, and I thought, what a great bag for university studies or for travel. And I remember at the time I was just about to go into an internship which was paid, which any student that you give money to will, you know, think that they are the richest person on earth. So I was already planning in my mind, can I buy this bag in time or whatnot? And I remember I did the internship, I got the money, and I just could not find it anywhere. At the time, it wasn't even a lot of money. I say it wasn't a lot. Money back then was worth more than it is now. But sadly, you know, even after I'd gotten the money, and a great deal of money in proportion to the cost of the bag, it wasn't available anymore. A part of me is still so gutted that I couldn't get my hands on it, because you know what? If I could find it these days, maybe I would buy it just to satiate my childlike self. And I think afterwards, to console myself, shortly thereafter anyway, I went to Bicester Village, bought myself a Vivian Westwood. It was a really ludicrously capacious and out there bag. It was bright red, had a massive orb in gold. And I know it got people looking and talking probably because it was so garish. I don't understand when looking back why I went for that bag. I think it must have been a consolation prize, but also in a way still a trophy of what I had put my work towards. And sadly, in the recent couple of years, I've parted ways with it. So it's no longer in my collection, because I kind of thought, Mel, what were you thinking having that bag? I did enjoy it a lot. It got a lot of use. It was battered and bruised. It was peeling. I don't even think it was full leather either. So the peeling wasn't great, but I had a red Sharpie. I used to color it in all the time. It fit everything in the kitchen sink, and it was just a lovely memorabilia. So I guess I'm going a little bit off tangent from the original bag, but you know, obviously still to this day, I'm a little bit sad that I couldn't get that bag because it would have meant so much to me. But everybody starts from somewhere, and I can't believe even nowadays, you know, to think that £250 bag was the holy grail for me. It's funny how your relativity changes, your kind of anchoring bias moves on, but also, you know, I'm reminded of how humble I should be because of those beginnings, and working hard to where I am today has allowed me the luxury of getting the luxuries that I want. So let's move on then to our second bag. This one is by Louis Vuitton. In fact, I have two bags from Louis Vuitton. This was actually also a backpack. I was thinking practically, guys. You should probably know, you know, I was very utilitarian at one point. Back then, I was thinking something for work or studies or whatnot, for travel even. And it was the Louis Vuitton Bosphore backpack, or Bosphore. It had the iconic monogram. It was very hardy. It had loads and loads of pockets and storage. And I thought it would be a nice middle ground of practical, but also functional and stylish. And I remember going on YouTube and seeing so many reviews. In fact, that must have been what inspired me to come on and make this channel. And I remember a lot of people raving about it, but it was super hard to get. I even considered, and I did contact personal shoppers actually to get this bag, but it was nowhere to be found. I think you'd have to buy pre-loved or something like that, which even at that time I was a little bit hesitant to do, especially to avoid getting scammed, because I was so new to luxury and authentication wasn't such a big thing back then. Basically, the reason I didn't buy the Bosphore backpack was because I couldn't find a seller that I trusted, and also because the price was quite high. I think it was at the time 800 or 900 pounds, which if you consider inflation or whatnot, that's still a lot of money even today. But for something that was pre-loved or I couldn't guarantee authenticity, it just wasn't a risk worth taking. And obviously since that point, many years ago, it's been discontinued. I still think that that was probably the right thing to do, because I think if I'm not mistaken, although it was monogram and it was like canvas with leather lining and details, which is hard wearing, I do think that the leather was one that was prone to patinaing. And that bothers me because, as some of you may know or have picked up from other videos, I'm not a fan of the browning. I just don't want to have a very inconsistent, patchy looking bag that then you couldn't shift or whatnot, or looks really old and raggedy. You know, I personally like the light color. So for me, especially when looking at the pre-loved ones, they were all very patchy looking, so it wasn't worth spending that amount of money. So I think in retrospect that was the right call, especially as I have other work bags and travel bags and things that better fill that criteria and have worn better, if not still look brand new. But I thought, you know, again, another nostalgic purchase that I was almost going to make, and it got to the point, like I said, that I think I may have even messaged a few people on eBay to make offers, but obviously they didn't take my offer, and I guess thank goodness they didn't, because I have so many other bags that much better fulfill the criteria. And actually I think that was even a man's bag, so it may have even drowned me out, which would have looked kind of awkward as well. Now let's move on to the third bag, and I'm just gonna stay on the Louis Vuitton theme, and I still do have the desire to have this bag unless I fall out of love with it for some reason, and that is the Louis Vuitton Capucines bag, and I'm specifically talking the BB size. I've mentioned this I think in a few wishlist or other videos before as a bag that I think is super classic, very elegant and refined, also a relatively good price point, at least back then a few years ago. Nowadays it's getting there with the classic flap territory anyway, but I thought it looked very, very beautiful, and it's super modern but also classic. This one was just a very understated, you know, LV, and obviously the flap can cover it as well, which is also a nice detail to have. And I think I came across it maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. You know, I'd seen it on so many reviews, so many bloggers I remember a few years ago were making so many videos about the Capucines. It was the it bag. I guess the only reason why I never really bought it is I always kind of prioritized Chanel bags because they do better on resale. The kind of aesthetic and designs were always what I looked for. And I guess also, it just seemed so accessible. It just seemed like the Capucines, even to this day, is one that I can always get my hands on, whereas a lot of my bags are maybe classic, but seasonal versions of a classic that I won't be able to see again. So I prioritize those, plus the fact that it's kind of getting on in price nowadays, and I'd much rather prioritize other special bags than one that doesn't do very well on resale, or I could get for a better price on resale, even if it's not used. So I've never been able to fully pull the trigger, though I have, I think, contemplated or entertained offers to other sellers. Even when I was in Japan, I was trying on a lot of Capucines bags because I really did want to touch and feel, but for brand new, I don't think it's worth it, especially if you can't get like a tax rebate or other some sort of promotion or loyalty. But I think on pre-loved or any other consignment, that would be a great option. The only type of bag that I would consider now from the Capucines line is a BB exotic leather skin bag. And I've got a lot of smooth leather, pebbled leather bags, and I think I'm ready to take the next step to differentiate my collection. And also I didn't really like the wear and tear when I tried some of the Capucines on in Japan. So I think the hard wearing exotics would be great, though obviously I'm appreciative that there's CITES certificates that you need to get to import it and stuff. So it's a little bit of a nightmare to upkeep and maintain an exotic handbag. No real ideas set in stone, but that's definitely the route that I want to go down. So it's probably a good thing I didn't just settle on a smooth leather version. Now on to bag number 4, and this one is a bag from Dior. And obviously it's a controversial brand nowadays, but back a few years ago, even a few months ago, Dior was, you know, it's always known as the pinnacle, one of the main luxury brands that you can get impeccable customer service from. They have very long-standing fixtures in their collections, namely the bag that I'm going to be talking about, the Lady Dior. Obviously, I don't need to reel off the reasons why the Lady Dior is appealing, because there are so many videos online talking about that. The reason it's been produced for so many decades is because it is a classic. You know, it's always been floated to me, especially by my mother, who actually has a So Black Lady Dior. She would always send me pictures of these Lady Dior bags that her sales associate was recommending to her. And I felt it, I held it, it looked great, the quality was impeccable. But I feel like for one reason or another, it didn't feel like me. My style isn't really a Lady Dior. I think it might be too girly or too formal. And you know, there are, again, beautiful designs out there, but I feel like it was delicate lambskin leather, if I'm not mistaken, so the wear can be quite detrimental, especially if you're like me and you use your bags a lot. That can obviously be something that reflects. There's also a lot of reviews I saw online about niggles with the handles flopping around and not staying upright. And, you know, some of them had a zip, or, you know, even the flap is not super secure. So multitude of reasons there. And obviously in terms of Dior's pricing, they don't do well in resale. And obviously nowadays we look back in hindsight and we see what's happened with the brand. It's not looking great. So I think an amalgamation of all reasons meant that I've just never bought it. And again, similar to the Capucines, I think I would maybe only consider an exotic or a very special limited edition. But even so, it would need to be a steal of a price, which I do think you can get nowadays because of what's happening with the brand image. So you might be able to get a bargain yourself if you're into that. Now on to bag number 5. This is taking way longer than I thought, so apologies for that. But this one is a bag that I actually have successfully bought in my collection, but the color that I wanted was the one that got away. And it's the Coco handle in pearlescent white. And this was one of the last bags that Karl Lagerfeld designed before his passing. It was the last collection. I love it because it's practical and it's also super stylish, classic. So I was looking to get this particular colorway because I thought, wow, it's stunning. It's like iridescent. Who remembers all the iridescent mini bags and classic flaps and the wallets and all of that stuff? So I was all into it. And I thought this Coco handle was one that was less popular, but still really stunning and affordable, actually, given the price of other bags. And this was back also when you could get tax-free at the airport. So I was in close contact with my SA. I was trying to get hold of it. Lo and behold, as soon as it goes on release for general sale, it's basically cannot be found, it's sold out. I think maybe I was going out to actually, to San Francisco for work. And I did say to him, you know, I'm passing through, please just get me the Coco handles. And he said, I've got one for you, but it's not that colorway, but I think you'll actually like it a lot better. And I left with this beauty right here. It still looks as good as it did the day that I bought her. It's one of my favorite bags still to this day. Again, in retrospect, it was a good thing that I got this bag because it's much more hard wearing in this neutral colorway. It goes with all my outfits. I think a totally white bag, even if it's cast in, even if it's iridescent and a bit more hard wearing and forgiving, would still be a bit much. I think it would be a bit gaudy. Now moving on to bag number 6, again, a bag from Chanel. In fact, how many bags from Chanel do I have? Just 2 actually. This being the second, and this one was actually during COVID times. I almost bought remotely. It's like this pearl bucket bag. It was from a collection about 2 or 3 years back. So I was looking online in collections. I saw it on a couple of models. I loved the look of it, but I couldn't discern the size of it because it was just like the bag on itself or someone holding it. Especially during that time when no one can go out, I reached out through the Harrods portal when they got me in contact with someone. And I was like, look, I'm interested in this bag. Do you have it? They obviously had it at Harrods, and it was a weird kind of back and forth messaging on WhatsApp of, can you take a picture of it, this, that, and the other? Because obviously a lot of the experience is sensory in that you're holding it, you're looking at it, you're trying it on your frame, and it was so detached, it felt kind of weird. And so she would send me lots of pictures of it on a mannequin or on herself. And you know, it did look small, but I didn't realize how small it really was. Also, the proportions on the mannequin looked so odd. The strap was really long, but obviously the bag is so small. So I think it just would have looked a little bit comical. And then I asked her to do the classic test that I always do with my handbags. And I said, can you fit an iPhone in it? Behold, it does not fit an iPhone. It kind of sticks out. I mean, technically you could say it fits, but the bucket bag did not do up. And she said, look, it's just so small, like you can fit a compact, lipstick, cards, that's pretty much it. And I thought, you know, even though the bag is under £2,000 or thereabouts, it's not worth it if you can't even fit a phone. That's got to be the bare minimum, right? So for that reason, I sacked it off. But then actually, I asked around other bags that had the pearl features because I love pearl. I wear a lot of pearls. I think also it's quintessentially Chanel. And then she shows me this bag that I then ended up buying instead. And it was this very beautiful Chanel. You could say it's an even clutch, but it's actually got a non-detachable handle. I just tucked it in for the sake of safekeeping. Goat skin as well, super hard wearing. Again, looks pretty much immaculate despite how many years and how many times I've used it. And it's got beautiful pearls encapsulated in the acrylic beads at the top. And so I'm very glad that the other pearl bucket bag got away because I think I would have regretted it a lot. Now on to bag number 7, again, another Chanel bag, similar to the pearl theme. You clearly can tell I have a certain style and preference, right? I think it's like the Crush bag. There was a particular one that was in baby blue, and I think it was in calf skin or goat skin, and it had big puffy quilting on it, and it had the pearl bead, which you can move up and down to make it as long or as short as you wanted to, so you could quite easily go from a crossbody, which is adjusted to your height, to a shoulder bag, and I absolutely loved it. Thought it was very, very innovative, and obviously the price point is great because it's a seasonal bag, at least at that point in time anyway. Didn't have a blue bag in my collection, and so I reached out to my sales associate who was in footwear, but he would always try and hook me up where he could, which I really appreciated. He did some digging and he actually found one available. He sent me the pictures. He's like, this one's available, but the catch was that another client, a VIP client, had it on hold but was unlikely to purchase. So if they didn't, it would go to me. You know, I remember even sending it to my friends and family, and they were like, go for it. Even if you don't use it, it will make a great investment. And right, they were, because I've seen the resale market on those. Lo and behold, obviously, because it's made its way into this video, you'll know that VIP client went and bought that bag, or so the story goes anyways, which I was a bit gutted about, but also in retrospect, I think now having the collection that I do, they're quite obviously similar. And also I have other bags that I use much, much more. I think maybe even the chain, especially if you reduce it up to, you know, a shoulder bag, dangling around may have been impractical for me. Didn't work out, and I think it's probably for the best, especially for my wallet. Now on to bag number 8, and that's 8. And this is a kind of up and coming bag brand. It's lesser known. I think nowadays a lot of, influencers in particular like this bag because it's so special, and it also has pearls, but it's the Rosantica Holly bag. I think I saw their bags like a couple of years ago, and it just looks so beautiful. It's like a work of art. I'd since gotten rid of, or sold rather, the Alexander McQueen clutch that I had and loved quite fondly, but it was very impractical. And so I was looking for a new evening bag, and with the pearl bag from Rosantica, I loved that it was super stylish, formal, but also can be dressed down as well to be a statement bag. But it was also a really good price point. And it must have also been during COVID, because I remember sending emails to the Rosantica consignment or whatever in Harrods, and there was somebody that I was messaging back and forth with, and she was showing me the different bags, the sizes, and she was demonstrating that it could fit an iPhone, the large one. So I was like, fantastic. And I was about to pull the trigger, and then I just didn't. I just backed out of it. And I did notify the sales associate, of course, to be polite, but I just thought, you know, for about £700 or £800, am I going to get as much use out of it? And also had lots of little cubic zirconia details on it, which I thought could fall out, and then I don't have any replacements, and then it could look cheap, and then it wouldn't resell if I was to then part with it. So I therefore decided, for those reasons, to not move forward with the purchase. I then have this bag, so it would have been a little bit of a duplication, and I'd much rather have this bag. Nowadays, I'm also seeing it on outlets, so it's also good that I didn't pay full price for it. I would never pay full price for, especially like an emerging brand. Not because I don't want to support the brand, of course I do, and I love discovering new designers, but because, you know, in today's economy, you got to make your money go as far as it can. And if it's going to go on sale or on a discount promotion, you should probably buy it then. Now on to bag number 9. We're almost there, guys. We're almost at the end. And this is a bag that technically didn't get away because I bought it, but then I returned it. But I still like the style, and I guess in that sense, it got away. The idea, the dream that I had about this bag got away from me, and it was the Fendi baguette bag. I still love the bag. I do recommend it, especially for newbies who are looking to buy a nice classic all-round bag. I also really like the Zucker print ones, really, really nice. It's been a classic fixture for many, many decades. But the bag that I got was a unicorn rainbow style bag, and it looked so nice. And I think the reason it got away is kind of because I got catfished, because the design online, I think, was part of a collaboration, and it looked so structured but also supple. But when I actually got the bag, and this was again during COVID, I think the video is still up, so obviously you can go back and see my reaction live, but I was so disappointed when it came because it was just too soft. It was too garishly out there, and I think the quality wasn't as good as some of the other bags that I've seen. Alas, I returned the bag with a heavy heart, and I instead actually exchanged it for another bag that I ended up gifting to my mother for Christmas. So it got away, but it went to a good cause, I suppose, and it saved me money. And now onto the final bag to round off this whole video, number 10. And this one's a bit of fun. It's the only real impulse purchase that I've considered doing. You'll tell why very quickly when I tell you what the bag is. And it's actually from a lesser known designer brand, though a British brand, and it's Cambridge Satchel Company. And the bag is one that harks back to a lot of our collective childhood, and that is the Hello Kitty bag. I already, as you may know, have a Hello Kitty bag, so that one is a definite duplication. I'd spent a lot of money on that Hello Kitty bag, more than I'd like to admit. Obviously, Cambridge Satchel Co. has only recently in the last few months done it, and they keep churning out really cute bags, and I keep wanting to buy them. And there's one in particular, which is like a work bag or something, and it's in like matte pink, matte black, maybe even white or other colors. And I'm always so tempted to buy because it is so affordable compared to my other bags. And it's like 200 or almost 300 pounds. And I was thinking, you know, make a great work bag, subtly making a nod to my love of that cat. And I just had to talk myself out of it, and reason came eventually. And I was thinking, Mel, you already have a Hello Kitty backpack. You rarely use it, you baby it too much. But if it was to go on sale, I cannot guarantee that I won't pull the trigger. And so in that way, it's gotten away, and it's gotten away a few times because it keeps going in and out of stock. So that one is like an impulse purchase that I was very close to making, and I hope some of you can appreciate why. That being said, that rounds off all 10 handbags that got away. And while, you know, nowadays people might think all of my purchases are really, you know, superficial, it came from a place where I had really nothing, only dreams and a hard work ethic. If you have bags that got away, I would love to hear what they are down in the comments. Anyways, I will leave this video here. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.